Hi, Paul.
Hey,
Paul.
Everyone, can you all hear me good?
Hey, yeah, you know
You
you're
missed
like an
it.
hour late, right?
You missed the show.
Are you serious?
You told us to move
hold
it.
on,
You're
you do
the
know
one
you're
that
the one that
moved it.
suggested this new time, right? You do.
At least we got a good opening for this show.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Sarah Kimmel, and Bobby Davis.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the tech podcast where we talk about everything from AI to VR and robots to flying cars. I'm Kevin Doyle, and this week I'm joined by Sarah Kimmel and Bobby Davis. Coming up in this week's episode, you're now expected to work in your sleep thanks to a new piece of hardware called the Halo. 23andMe suffered a larger-than-force-thought data leak. And Sony, in their infinite wisdom here, is removing some digitally purchased content. But don't hold your breath for a refund. And then we'll finish up with our null, not null recommendation section where we recommend that you avoid a product or service. Okay, before we jump in to our stories this week, I did want to ask you guys one thing which we have not talked about yet, and I have not asked you yet, but did you guys see the trailer for Florida the game? I mean, Grand Theft Auto 6.
I
Well,
did
By the way,
not
it looks
see
like Florida. It literally looks like Florida the game. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. The reason I ask is it hit the most amount of views on YouTube. Actually, it didn't break a record, but it's up to 106 million views on YouTube already for a trailer for a game that isn't coming out until 2025.
What is the conspiracy or the? There was just all kinds of people up in arms over this trailer. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, I
The
haven't
only
even
people
heard of
that
it.
okay, the only people that are up in arms are people that have a problem with it being a female protagonist and the fact that there wasn't enough white people in the trailer. That's literally the
Oh,
controversy.
is that what they're complaining about?
That's the controversy.
Okay.
So you can imagine what kind of people that was. Just saying. So there's already boycotts for the
throwing that
game.
out
Like, whatever. Like, get over yourselves. Like, it's going to be great. You'll be playing it. Just don't worry about it.
No, I think you should boycott GTA on other reasons. Like,
I
it's
was going to
just-
say, there's probably other reasons.
There's-
They're probably true.
There's
Probably
a
true.
big long list of reasons why you
Yeah.
shouldn't play Grand
Those
Theft
weren't the
Auto.
reasons. They had no problem with prostitution, murder,
Exactly.
Grand
Rape.
Theft Auto. It's literally in the name.
Murder.
Murder. Yeah. They had no problems with that stuff.
Yeah, that
So-
stuff's fine, but there's not enough white
Female
people.
protagonist? No way. I'm whatever. So
I
yeah,
haven't seen the trailer, so that's not a game I play. So that's not.
trailer's cool. It got a lot of views. Obviously, that shows you how many people are like ready for this thing. It's been 13 years since the last one. That's a long
Oh,
time
wow.
between
That is a
two
long
games.
time.
That is a long time. So
Have
yeah,
they been updating it over those 13 years?
it's had updates. Yeah, it's had different modes. So GTA 5 Online was one of the bigger updates that came about during that time. It was a standalone game initially. We're talking about a game that was launched on a PS2.
Right.
Like that's how long ago it is. It's kind of crazy. Or maybe it was a PS3. I don't remember, but I think it's 2 generations ago. So I think it was a PS3. It was 2 generations ago. We're on PS5 now. It's like that's a long time for a game to stick around. People are still playing it. It's still got an active community. There's a mod community around it. So yeah, this new version is just an extension of that. It looks great. Looks interesting. So a lot of people will play it. Clearly, there's 106 million views in kind of just over a day is a lot of views for a YouTube video. Okay, let's jump into our first story and let's talk about working in your sleep. So, crazy story, but a company called Prophetic are releasing a piece of technology called the Halo. And if you are watching, it looks kind of like this, although this is a mock-up, so who knows what it'll actually look like. This is very futuristic looking, but it's kind of a band that sits around your head is kind of the idea. This thing is reportedly going to cost somewhere between $1,500 to $2,000. It's a little ways off yet. I don't think this could be vaporware, right? This could be one of those things that we never ever see, but here you go. We're talking about it anyway. So what it does is it allows users to get into a state of lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming is where you are dreaming, you are asleep and you are dreaming, but you are aware you are asleep and you are dreaming. So it's a known thing. People can do this. It is a skill you can actually develop. You can actually train. Certain people have like a kind of a skill for it, I guess. They have like a natural ability to be able to do this. Other people can learn how to do this, apparently. But this device supposedly helps you put you into this state. So some of the examples they gave, though, I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's awesome. Some of the examples they gave, though, were just like, really? This is what we're going to use this for? They said a CEO could practice for an upcoming board meeting. An athlete could run through plays. Or a web designer could create new templates.
Not happening.
I'm like, hold on a minute.
I was like, nope.
This is cool. We have a device that can control our dreams, and what we're going to do is work. Like that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to work in this thing. Kind of crazy. So one of the people behind this, and the reason I think this could eventually be a real thing is it's the same person that designed the Neuralink for Elon Musk's company. You know, the brain insertion thing that he has going on. Same guy was one of the designers that designed this too. So
You could figure out what's wrong with him.
Right. So this does have its skeptics also. There's lots of people who have said, people in the know about this more so than we are, that claim that it's more than just a piece of hardware that puts you into this state. It is a skill. It is something you have to actually learn. Even with this, you will have to have a certain skill set and a certain, I guess, just propensity to be put into this mode in the first place. There's other things you can come out of it quite easily. Apparently, for those that can do it, it's a skill that takes people a lifelong, sort of a lifetime to learn. So it's not something you can just pick up from a Best Buy and overnight all of a sudden you're in control of your dreams. It's more than that. So that's what the skeptics are saying. So anybody have any desires to continue work in your sleep and buy one of these things?
I do think it's funny that this is based off the movie Inception. So, I just wonder if DiCaprio can go to lucid dreaming. Is he predisposed to this? So,
Maybe.
I don't
Do
know.
they need a little top to help
Yeah,
them?
to make sure you know what's
figure
real
out.
and what's not. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that is, a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, they're based in kind of some kind of at least scientific reality,
it's research.
right? They're not,
Yeah.
it's research.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so while that is obviously sci-fi for the movie, it's based in some kind of scientific reality, just like a lot of his stuff is.
yeah, so
Yeah,
we
this
get
is-
the halo and inside the halo and inside the other halo.
Right.
You're wearing a halo in the halo. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the time when the phrase "teamwork makes the dream work"
Oh, I
not
like that.
the case here, because are you really that hard up for finding hours in the day that you need to work while you're sleeping? I am a huge fan of sleep. I
Agreed.
am a stickler for sleep for my kids. My daughter was 14 and she said to me one day, she's like, "So can my bedtime be later now?" And she had an 8:00 bedtime. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you are 14, huh? Okay, you can stay up until 9 now." But I am such a stickler for sleep. And the reason was when my son was a little teeny tiny baby, he finally slept through the night. And I never had that experience with my daughter because she woke up in the middle of the night through the age of 2. She still probably wakes up and I just don't know about it yet because she's 18. But when my son slept through the night for the first time, I woke up the next day like a brand new person. I'm like, oh my gosh, sleep is so important. I can think. I can do things. I need that sleep in order to relax and recharge and get to where I need to be for the next day. And I feel like this will just make people so tired. Don't do that.
I can tell you this as being a lifetime coder that there are times when I do go to sleep and I do dream about writing software. I do it. And I think that's why this is listed as one of the things, but I don't see keyboard integration. I don't see how you would save files.
No, you got to remember your ideas.
You got to
That's
remember them. And so that's why I was like, okay, board meeting, maybe, running through plays, maybe. Something that you remember and you act on, maybe this works. Something you physically have to do, build the building in your dream. I don't know, man. I just don't see it happening. So, but there are times I've woke up and wrote stuff down. The other thing that I find is I will be dreaming about software, writing software. I'll wake up and realize that my dream was just That's stupid. Like, we're
like in the dream, it seemed great, but
it
as soon
seemed
as
like
you
a good idea.
That's a terrible piece of code right there.
Go back to sleep. Come on, quit it.
Yeah, not a fan.
But yeah, I don't know. I think people will buy it, Kevin. I just don't. It's probably vaporware. I don't know much about lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
I do like the names around it. Halo, prophetic, and all of these kind of like, people
branded
that,
well.
Interpret dreams for people, stuff like that,
Yeah, it's branded well. I'd say I would kind of like this, not to work essentially, but I'm like you. I'll have ideas. I'll wake up with an idea, and I know it came from a dream. I'm not somebody who often remembers dreams. I often know that I do dream, but I don't remember them very well. I don't know what that says about me. I have no idea, but it says something, I'm sure, to somebody. But sometimes I'll wake up and be like, "Oh, I dreamt that," and I'll wake up with an idea like in the middle of the night. I had one the other week, and it was an AI idea, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually a really, really good idea." And it genuinely was, and it's like, "Oh, okay, I that's a really good idea." So if I could have like harnessed that like in the dream and known that I was working on it, maybe that could have been interesting. So while it's work, I kind of like this idea of like thinking if you're going to be, but it's at the same time as having to have the rest, like you said, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
As it's only good if you can actually get the benefits of regeneration as well. If you lose those benefits, it's a terrible idea.
And you get most of your rest in your last 3 hours of sleep. You have to get to that deep REM state, and then that's the part where that's why it sucks to wake up at 4 a.m. Like right when you're getting a lot of sleep and you wake up, and but that's the time when you're most asleep is when you're getting the most rest.
Yeah. I don't know at what point. I don't know enough about this scientifically to know when lucid dreaming occurs. Obviously, it's a different. I'm guessing I don't know what point in sleep, whether it's REM or whether it's deep or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's interesting. Definitely interesting. Yeah, whether they'll sell these, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Are most people interested in this? I don't know.
Yeah,
Not
like
expensive, but I'm sure there's a sucker born every minute. Like the,
people buying that like flying car and stuff.
Yeah, the flying car that doesn't exist.
Drive your flying car wearing your halo.
Right.
So recently, the DNA service 23andMe had a data breach. They had some data leaked. And this has come out over the course of a few months now. This happened back in October. So basically, if you don't know about this company, you basically send them a DNA sample and they send you back a report on your ancestry. And if you pay extra, they send you like a report on your, like basically your predisposition to any health issues, those kind of things. So it's your standard these days, your standard DNA company, right? Like, which just seems crazy. But
what world do we live in?
I know, right? But they have a massive amount of customers. They literally have 14 million customers. Chances are, most people, if you haven't done this already, you know somebody that has. So it's extremely common. It's extremely common to know somebody that has done this. So they had a data breach back in October, and it was initially, they said it was 14,000 accounts. And from those 14,000 accounts, apparently what happened was hackers got that information and they used what's called credential stuffing. So basically what this means is they got access to that information from reused usernames and passwords from other accounts. So the biggest thing from other services. From other services. So the biggest thing here is from a security perspective, please, people, don't reuse your usernames and passwords. That's how they think about that. 14,000 of them they found that were basically, they just like, I'm guessing they essentially tried them all, right? They did it through a script, I'm sure, but they tried them all through this username password combination, and 14,000 of the ones they tried happened to let them in because somebody had used them on another service. So please don't use your username and passwords across multiple services. Yeah. From there, though, those leaked credentials then led them to actually a total of 5.5 million people's data. That's a massive amount. It's almost a third, or actually over a third, of their customers' data was in there. So they got access to things like display names, recent login information, not a lot of stuff, but then like relationship labels, predicted relationships, and basically the DNA information, right? The actual stuff that they said, the report that they sent out to people. They got access to that kind of information for 5.5 million users on this 23andMe system. So I was thinking off the top of my head, like, I don't know, and maybe you know, like, about this, Bobby. Like, from a security perspective, like, is that a problem in terms of, are there any real world implications that you can think of for having that kind of data out there, other than just using the username and password again?
You mean framing you for a murder? You know, like they have your DNA?
Okay.
I don't like it. Like, the other thing too is, like, the thing that I'm kind of suspicious of. The NSA director came out, and apparently he was a target of this hack. And also, he said that he uses a separate email address and password for every site. And he says there's no way they could have traditional stuffing. Now, is he saying that because he uses the same password 123 at everywhere and he's the director of NSA? I'm not sure.
Actually, they did have an answer for this. Yeah, so it wouldn't be surprising. But they did have an answer for this, by the way, because he did say that. And they did have an answer for this. It was through a third party, and the third party wasn't able to. So he's part of the 5.5 million. He's not part of the 14,000.
So he was like,
so he's in this additional pool where some kind of third party service like was shared with it, and it's like they did have a good answer for it.
The thing that was suspicious was it sounded very, when you read through it, it sounds very sophisticated and purposeful. Like they didn't get them all. They went after certain people. They were looking for something very specific.
But I wonder to what end? What's the...
To get their DNA, biometrics, all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, like you shouldn't give your DNA to any website, but you know, people do. Do they want to know their histories, like who they're related to? If you know who's related to people, you can blackmail people. There's a lot of other things that you can do once you know their entire history of people, weak points, whatever.
You could do spear phishing attacks too.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. You could say, because you've seen a lot of those, right? Where it's like, you could say hey, it's your Uncle John. And you're like, oh, I have an Uncle John. Like, hey, and I mean, you know what I mean? You can find out a little bit of information about that person. And then, try and manipulate it that way. That makes sense. I could see that.
But they're using these genetic databases to solve crimes. And that's one crime that we saw earlier in the year where the guy killed the 4 students. They never really physically found him. They just said that this DNA is in this range. And then they looked at the people that were around there that was also in that range and then combined it with cell phone data. We'll see how that case gets adjudicated. I'm sure he did it.
It's not quite how that played out.
Okay, how did it play out?
I know everything about this.
Okay, you're our legal expert.
I love it. Go for it.
Let's go to Sarah in Utah.
So they had a DNA profile that was on the knife sheath at the crime scene, right? Then through basically backward tracking the car that he was driving, through cameras, webcams on, or security cams on different businesses and things like that, tracking him driving back to where he was. They already knew basically who they were looking for because they got the car, and then the car led them to the person, and then the person. So they tracked him back to his home in Pennsylvania or wherever. And then they went through the Pennsylvania trash and got a DNA profile on the trash. The DNA profile they got was the dad's profile, but they matched it that it was the son of, you know, it was related to this person. And that's kind of how the DNA got zeroed in on him. But they used a
genome database. I knew they had used a genome database to kind of solidify their case.
Yeah, which has been a thing. We've seen that a chunk, right? Where these cases have come out where it's they used this, and they're often they don't say 23andMe or they don't say the service, but we know which ones they are.
Well,
There's only a couple of these that are this big, right?
Yeah.
So it's they're solving crimes through this. They're giving police access to this. You haven't signed up to do that at all. You've just you're just looking for your, hey, how much European am I? Right? It's where am I from? But you don't know now. You're signing up not only yourself, but if you have a serial killer in your family, you've handed them in, whether you wanted to or not. You've handed them in, which okay. I don't know. I don't know if I dislike that. I like the result.
So for me, from a security standpoint, I think about the good it can do, which is great. It can solve a crime that's a real crime or whatever.
Yeah.
Then also think about the adverse of that, where people use it for nefarious things to frame you or to do whatever and say you were here. And especially as we are being able to print things with biometrics, stuff like that. Can we ever print DNA? I'm not sure, but I'm sure people are trying. because they're trying to make organs and other things based on people's DNA so that they can avoid rejection. So they're trying to print human hearts now using different types of materials, but they add a little bit of DNA there so it doesn't reject it. So I don't know. I just wouldn't give. I'm just more cautious. I just wouldn't give my data to 23andMe.
But it doesn't matter whether you do, because
someone
somebody
in my
else in your family's going
and
to.
I'm related
he
to
would
somebody.
have. Well, true, yeah.
Yeah.
But if Bobby's not committing a crime, then then I think he's safe from like his relatives giving them.
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting.
It's
definitely
interesting. And then, again, like these data breaches keep happening. And, why isn't data encrypted at rest at this place? I'm not sure. Why aren't people learning at this point not to use the same password? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. That's what I found interesting about the story. There's multiple levels of like security issues here. There really is.
And why is the NSA director get called out? Like, it's just like, it's so weird that that's who they found out of that. And that's the one guy they're looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sounds very specific that they're looking for things and they can relate to someone else. So.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about this from a stealing biometrics kind of standpoint.
Yeah.
That is an interesting thing, isn't it? As we do move more towards like this
passkeys,
this passkeys, right? That are biometrically driven. Like, how long before people end up stealing those? Like, and how does that work? And who's safeguarding those right now? I mean,
yeah. So interesting. I don't know if you've ever been to this website, but have I been pwned? Pwned.
Yep.
That will show you what data breaches your email address has been a part of. Like you're saying, please have a different password for every service that you're going to. Do not nullpodcast@AOL.com.
I was just going to do that.
Just don't put mine in there.
Exactly.
I'm not putting mine in there because it'll come with a long list because I know mine's on a whole bunch of different lists.
Yeah.
Right. Yay, no
We're
phonage found.
But
But like,
no emails either.
Exactly.
We're not popular enough.
Yeah, but if you pull mine up, it's got MyFitnessPal from 2018.
Right.
If you've had an email address long enough, chances are there's 10, 20 different services on here that are easily that you were part of that have had a data breach.
Exactly. So, good to check this out from time to time for sure. But, you're going to help yourself a ton if you're just putting a different password on every single account that you have. And then when one gets breached, so the other day I got an email I got a phone call from my bank, legitimately from my bank, giving me a code to enter, two-factor authentication. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't trying to log on to my bank. Yeah. And so I got, a little concerned. I asked my husband, I'm like, hey, were you trying to log on to the bank account? He's like, I don't log into that. And and then then I changed my password, but I don't have to go through and change 20 other passwords because this is the only service that is using this password. So I changed that password, and then I got notifications overnight, that somebody was put in an incorrect password. So they had my password. I don't know how, back then, but now I've changed it. But I don't have to change more passwords than just the one because it's different.
Yeah, it's always a worry when you get one of those notifications, isn't it? That, hey, here's your two-factor code. You're like, whoa, that wasn't me. I don't know, okay, time to change. And that's what you should do. Time to change your password. That's the first thing you do is just go change your password. Don't click on a link. Don't do anything else. Go straight to the website. Just change the password. Save it again. Sign in. You should be good to go.
So probably what happens there is that there's this called these reverse denial of service attacks where they attach the login page, especially for banks. Mm-hmm. And what they do have a email address that they have control over. And what they're doing is trying to trigger a reset so they can see the reset come through. And they'll do this on thousands of accounts. And what happens when you see that, it's more likely your bank front end system was attacked that's more likely what happened, because we've seen that a lot in past days and other things that I've ran and done. So where you see them just attack the login page. And that's why most companies should have a third party site doing their auth, and then that auth is off their system. Right. And then they can do things like progressively slow down these denial of service attacks and things like that. And so very famous attack with a bank was they attacked the login page. It triggered all of these accounts to be reset. And while the IT team was doing that, they went around the edge and they'd already had another attack set up where they went in and no one was looking. So it's kind of like a Trojan horse or like, classic Napoleon pincer move, stuff like that. That's what they did.
Did they reset everyone's password to the same password like that one?
Well, they were just trying to make the IT team busy while they went in this other thing and stole money.
No, I'm kidding. Like the IT team,
exactly.
that made everybody's password the same.
Like that high school.
Right.
Definitely genius move.
And then send an email out, like, hey, here it is.
With the password.
Okay, let's talk about digital purchases. This is a much bigger story than this story, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
So Sony is removing some digitally purchased content, and they're not talking about refunds. They've just been kind of quiet on refunds. So some Discovery content, actually all Discovery content purchased via the PlayStation Store is no longer going to be available to users, and it's going to be removed from their libraries. The official statement says, as of December 31st, 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your library. So it's gone. There's no talk of a refund if you spend. It doesn't matter how much you spend. It doesn't matter. You never owned this in the first place. Apparently, you were just renting it, and because now that license is gone, your content is gone. This is apparently 1,200 different titles in total. And Sarah, I know you have thoughts on this. Being a Plex server user, what do you feel about owning digital things? And I was interested. Does your Plex server serve or fix this kind of problem?
First, yes, it does. But second, the reason I became so invested in my Plex server, which is like my pride and joy, is how much I love my Christmas movies, right? One day I was in my Vudu account, and Vudu, I have over 1,000 movies purchased on Vudu, right? Like we buy, like I'm not a stealer. I don't steal content. I purchase content. And one day I was looking for a specific Christmas movie that I know that I bought on Vudu. I knew it, and it was gone. Like it did not exist on Vudu anywhere. Like not in my library. It didn't exist on Vudu to purchase again.
Right.
And so that terrified me. I was like, oh my gosh, any of my content can just vanish. Like anything that I have bought. Like, again, I didn't buy it. I bought a license to play it. And so that's when I started backing up all of my content onto my Plex server. And so, I mean, here's the secret. I screen record from my Vudu. Like,
why shouldn't you?
Exactly. And that's why I justify it. I'm just creating a backup of content that I have already purchased. And so I play it on, like, I have a Roku attached to a computer, like with a thing, and I just screen record the content that I already own. And that's why I feel good about myself. But that is also why my Plex server is so extensive, because I got terrified that things were going to just disappear. And that's the reason I bought it, because I want to watch it anytime I want. And so I started screen recording everything. I put it on my Plex server. Now I don't have to worry about anything disappearing unless like my NAS dies for some strange
That's
reason.
A whole different problem. That's not a licensing issue.
Yeah.
This has happened to video games on Steam. It's happened to movies on Amazon. This isn't the first time this has happened. Basically, what these people do is they acquire the license for a period of time to stream the movie. Mm-hmm. You go buy Mission
Well, don't forget, it's
Impossible,
slightly
whatever.
different than streaming, though. Don't forget. I think there's two things here. There's streaming and there's owning a digital copy, because they price them differently, right? I can own.
Oh, yeah.
I can go to the movie. I can go to Apple, right? Let's just get it, because I use Apple TV
too. Yeah,
they have So they have a movie you can buy for $20, or I can stream it on Apple TV, and that costs me a monthly subscription, right? They're two different sales models. One I feel like is limited, and I know it could go away, and definitely will go away, right? Once the license runs out and the streaming side of things is going to disappear. The $20 version I've bought, I should keep that forever.
I agree. But like, I think these arrangements, they're one and the same. Like you can stream the movie, then they can't stream that movie anymore.
Right.
Whether you bought it or not. They're saying, well, maybe you bought it, but we can't show it to you. So
Right.
and they don't care. I mean, they don't tell you that. And then and the same thing with video games. I forget the game, but like a lot of guys in the Discord group that I play games with were up in their arms about this game that was removed, and they had all paid like $90 for it. It was just awesome.
Wow.
And back to Christmas movies. We do know that there is a movie that my wife likes, A Cinderella Story, A Christmas Wish, is leaving Netflix.
That on my Plex server.
It is such a good movie, and it's leaving Netflix. It's like, I don't know, where's it going to go? Can we get the Steelbook version?
That's where I have it.
Yeah, we have to go to Sarah's Plex server. I have to get a membership there.
But it does seem like, it does seem like the streaming side of things just feels different to me, because we're kind of used to that, because there's a revolving library of content, right? And we've kind of, in kind of a bad way, we've become used to that. Like the fact that stuff drops off the service. When we first started using Netflix, stuff didn't drop off Netflix. It's more that kind of came after a couple of years of like having things like, whoa, hold on a minute, that thing was on Netflix, why is it not there anymore? And now we're just used to the fact that it's on there for kind of 6 months or so, and then it disappears. And I think we're kind of used to this revolving thing. But when you buy it, it just feels like a different proposition they're giving you. They're giving you this proposition of, hey, you can now own this. You can watch this literally whenever you like, whether it's on our Netflix service, whether it's on here, it doesn't matter. You own it. You own it, but apparently you don't. That is still you are still renting it. You still have a license to it. You're still streaming it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we've been
you don't
buying
own it until you have the
steelbooks.
MP4 on your NAS. That's
Yeah, we've been buying steelbooks lately. Is what we've been doing. And if you're if you like movies and you have a home theater system, we just got the Oppenheimer Blu-ray. And it's like night and day streaming it off something like Apple Plus, which is probably the best streamer out there as far as like quality. But the audio and the visuals, it's amazing, even off of a 5-year-old Blu-ray player that I have, which you really can't buy those anymore either. So
yeah, we still have a lot of physical media as well. So like I have big, like, again, over 1,000 DVDs of physical media. And like Bobby was saying, if I'm going to watch like Guardians of the Galaxy, I am going to put that Blu-ray, that 4K UHD like Blu-ray in my thing instead of streaming it, because it just.
And there's a lot of people, going back to like they want to keep the movie as it was seen, and so like Star Wars: A New Hope,
right?
They don't want the Lucas when he messed with it and they added in the other monsters.
They want Hayden Christensen in the.
They want the original, the copy of that.
Right.
And I think a Laserdisc is still pretty expensive. If you want to
this is the problem. Yeah, you're right with the streaming servers, because they're likely they can change the content on you, can't they? And you don't have any say on that. You just, if they deem that that's taken out, they take it out, and that's it. That's now the version that you own, regardless of which version you originally purchased.
Yeah, and then it's sad because movies, in a lot of ways, for me, are like historical moments when you went and saw them, and like you were doing other things. And I remember seeing New Hope in theaters, and remember what was happening at the time. My parents had moved us from Virginia to North Carolina, and I was upset and got to see Star Wars.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that's it.
But and similarly, like Bobby was saying, when content just goes away or gets changed, as a society, we deem some things like offensive or things after the fact. Like there are 30 Rock episodes that you cannot get on streaming services. And so I recorded them when they were still available. So I still have those episodes on my Plex server, but you can't get them anywhere else. Even if you bought the season, you don't have those episodes. Right.
You can only have them if you bought the physical media at the time.
Right.
Or if you bought the digital one and ripped it or whatever you did.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. You've got to have it at a point in time. And then, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I don't like that.
No, if you like movies and you like this content, they're more. The reason we like movies is because of it brings back memories of what you were doing at the time and the people you were with and kind of things. And it's very historical, in my opinion. And maybe I'm over dramatizing it, but like
romanticizing it.
Yeah, I just remember certain things. I mean, for me, and people's asked me a lot. The best movie experience I ever had was the very first Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now it's because I was a kid and it was cool and everything else, and there's maybe been better movies, but like still to this day, the initial reaction coming out of that film was the best reaction I've ever had out of a movie. And it's like, it'd be a shame if they took out, Indiana running from the rock for some reason,
Right.
They didn't like that,
Right.
And they change it.
Yeah. I distinctly remember coming out of The Matrix, like
Yeah.
blown away, just blown away by that movie. But I remember where I was. I remember the theater, like everything about that experience. So yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, this is such a slippery slope for owning digital content.
Yeah.
It just,
and there's some movies that can be removed, like The Last Matrix. We can take that one away.
I don't know. I'm sure some people love that. Like, that's
exactly.
I don't believe there are any other Matrixes, Bobby. What are you referring to?
So,
There's only one, right? There's
That's
only
a
one
story
movie.
it's a story that didn't need to end, isn't it? Like, it should have just left it.
should have left it alone. So,
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our recommendation section then. So anybody have a not null? Anybody have a null this week? Anybody have a bad thing?
No.
Okay, a not null.
changed
What you
mine.
got, Sarah? Go for it. What you got?
So if you go to holidayspecs.com, so I don't know if this is a thing in North Carolina, but neighbor gifts are a thing around here. And this is the ultimate neighbor gift because I can't do any crafts. I can't cook. Like I'm not that girl, right? So I buy these holiday specs. And what they are, it's like just basically like almost like Eclipse glasses. Like you can buy Eclipse glasses from here. But if you look at Christmas lights, like it'll turn it into like a snowflake or turn it into like a snowman or something like that. And so what I do is I print out a map of like just kind of my city where like good holiday light displays are like marked on the map. And then like a pack of like 4 variety holiday specs. And that's my neighbor gift. And so I buy like a thing of 100 of them and it lasts me like a couple seasons, so I don't have to buy them like every year because I don't have that many neighbors. But yeah, they're really cool. Like if you've ever put them on, you're kind of blown away.
I have put them on and I got them for kids one season when they came over. But your idea is like great. Like that's a fantastic idea. It's like I'm going to do that and make a map and stuff. I think that's a really good idea. I like that, because that is a gift that's not expensive, but it's so unique.
Yeah,
it has a lot of value to it. I think that'd be kind of cool. I mean, whoever you are, even if you're the Grinchiest of the Grinch, you're like, well, let's look at the lights, I guess.
Right.
Let's get the map. Bobby sent me a map.
Bobby sent me a map. Yeah, it's
funny.
super cheap. Like I give like 4 to each family, you know, like a variety, and yeah, and I don't have to do any crafts.
Okay, that's a really good idea.
I like it. Yeah, I don't know if neighbor gifts are a thing here. They're not. I don't
really.
know.
We don't. We're not. We live in the South, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind my neighbor's gifts. I don't think they get me anything. I don't know that much. But I don't know. I barely buy anybody gifts. like it's just, I'm terrible like that. Maybe I am too Grinch. I don't know. But yeah, these are cool. I like it.
We're gonna send you some glasses, Kevin.
Right? Yeah.
With
I
a
have
map.
a whole stack of them. I can send you a couple.
Yeah, maybe it'll help.
Yeah.
Okay, Bobby, what you got?
Well, I don't really have a physical product, but what I've been working on this weekend is Blazor. And so it's a coding, it's a web framework. It's probably not what everyone's interested in, but it's an absolute game changer. I was showing Kevin some stuff that we were writing in it before. And this is going to change the way websites are built next year. And so I'm super bullish on it. Of course,
Interesting.
maybe not totally objective, but we are making a course for it. But it is flat out amazing the types of things that you can build and how you build it. And it's just going to change the way it's done. I'm super bullish on Blazor for 2024.
Microsoft named something cool?
They did do a good job with this.
I am
Parts of it.
shocked.
So,
Well, they kind of did. They also, I mean, they okay. We're talking about it. they reused a name from another thing. They already had something called Blazor, so they kind of did good. So that just confused everybody. Like, hold on, is this that? No, this is not that. This is not that.
Blazor.
This is a whole
the
new thing.
Blazor.
Like,
So they do have Razor components and Razor pages, which is another framework.
Oh, that was
and then they have
that's
Razor
it.
syntax, which is how you mark up web pages, and it is confusing how they do it. Now, when we were making our course earlier in the year, they had render modes, and I made all these videos about render modes. You can go watch them on YouTube. It was like 7 days later, and I complained about the names on the render. I said, we're going to name them this because these are bad names. They changed the names the next week. And so like now all of our samples quit working. It's like, would y'all stick with the names, man? It's like,
even though they were bad originally, just
stay with them. You know, like that's the whole problem. You know, you keep naming stuff. But Blazor's a really cool framework. We're super bullish here at Coder Foundry on it. So it's kind of cool.
It just reminds me, like, well, I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan, so I think of that. But what really it brings in my head is the dodgeball when he's like, laser, blazer.
It just sounds very cutting edge, doesn't it? It sounds very futuristic.
Yeah. Or like a dodgeball guy. You know.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
That's right. So true.
Okay, my not know is going to be controversial amongst this group.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
it's Apple. It's Apple.
No,
right?
It's not. It's not Apple. Did I? No, it's not Apple. It's the fact that I liked Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's on Disney Plus. It came out this last weekend, and I thought it was a great movie. And I know Bobby doesn't like it because we've talked about it before. Because he won't say. I don't know if your opinion's on this, Sarah. But here's what I will say. It is, in my opinion, the third best Indiana Jones movie.
Well, out of 5, that's not very hard.
Out of 5, no, but that's come on. I mean, the first two are like, you can't. So for me,
no, the first and the third one.
What
Temple of Doom.
Exactly? No, exactly. That's exactly
right.
it. So for me, the ratings, I actually like Last Crusade better than Raiders of the Lost Ark. Again, I know that's controversial for you, Bobby, but I do.
I think
Last Crusade is number 1 for me.
It's a perfect movie. I think Indiana Jones, the reason I like the first one better is just because I was 11.
I guess say you have nostalgia attached to it.
It just came out, and it's like that was the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. But like I really like Sean Connery was excellent in that movie.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I just think it's my favorite. Then Raiders. I put Dial of Destiny next, and only kind of just behind it. Like I think it's great. I thought it was amazing. I liked it a lot. And just say, look who showed up. Paul's here. So, Paul, what's your not know? I mean,
welcome everybody. I'm only magically 1 hour late. It's my fault, but it's because the reason why I'm kind of losing track of things is because I realized I'm not having enough vitamins in my life. So I needed to figure out a way of how can I make sure that I'm getting enough vitamins for my brain that apparently is not functioning to function. And this makes sense because I haven't been taking enough AG1, and they should definitely be our sponsor for sure. But I am really bad of like getting the like eating enough vegetables and salads. So this has been like a great way for me to get my daily dose. So every time you see a commercial for this, they say it tastes amazing. I probably say it tastes okay. But I feel really good after drinking it. You could like mix it in like a very small amount of water. It's like one little scoop, and it has like literally everything that I need, like from vitamin A to C to E to B to just the whole alphabet.
I just got to ask: is there like a CBD in here or something along those lines? Cause...
No. But
just
to be no. This is like this is non like CBD. Whatever. Like, I don't think in Texas that's even legal, to be honest. But I don't know. But no, it's AG1, really good, a very good brand.
And you do feel it different after you drink it.
I do. That's why I started like drinking it. It's like so. Like one thing I started like it also has like probiotics in it, and so I do feel better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely working, and sometimes like an issue I have, sometimes I'm like really hungry at night and I probably shouldn't eat like a whole meal. So what I do is I kind of combine this with like a protein shake and just like drink it. So that way I'm getting some nutrients, some protein. And then like I don't binge out on like a cake that I would have had. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
AG1 instead of cake. I like it.
Yeah, AG1 instead of cake, 100%. Lord, I'm gonna laugh the whole evening. I was just like, that was so priceless. I'm so excited to start the show, and y'all like, hey, you missed it. I'm like, and then like, I was like, oh, they're joking, and then Kevin goes, it's not a joke. I'm like,
it's gonna make a good intro. God. It's gonna make the best intro. So at least we have that.
All right. Anyway, I looked at the topics. It's like, oh my god, like this is so great. Like, I definitely want to talk about that 23andMe leak. You know, it's like, I'm like, man, it's been happening to everybody. I don't know if you knew the British Library got hacked because and then blah blah. And it's just like, oh my god. Anyway, it was great to see everybody.
So that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening this far. You can send us an email. Where can they send that email to, Sarah?
The Not Null Podcast at AOL.com. I was like, wait, I almost said Gmail. And I'm like, no, it's not Gmail.
No.
That has not been compromised in any attacks.
Correct. We have double checked. We have not been compromised. We have not been pwned at all. We are good. Nobody has stolen our credentials. We are good. The Not Null Podcast at AOL.com. And that's it. We will catch everybody next week.
Bye.
Hopefully.